Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a massive question, one that affects millions of us and really defines a generation. Why is it so unbelievably hard to buy a house right now?
You know that feeling, right? You spend a whole weekend scrolling through listings that are just impossibly expensive. Or maybe you finally make an offer only to lose out to some mysterious all-cash buyer who came out of nowhere. It's this deep frustration, this feeling that the goalposts just keep moving further and further away. Well, let me tell you, that feeling, it's not just in your head. It is a very real symptom of a huge, almost invisible shift in how our entire economy works. Your personal struggle to find a home is actually connected to a much, much bigger global story.
And this chart, man, it just lays it all out there, doesn't it? For our parents' generation, saving up for a down payment was tough, for sure, but it was doable. It took a few years of hard work. But today, that timeline has stretched to a decade, maybe 15 years or even more for some. The dream is the same, but the reality has been completely turned on its head.
So what gives? What on earth happened to create this huge gap? Well, it all started when the fundamental idea of what a house is began to change completely. This didn't happen overnight. It was a slow burn. Back in the day, say the 50s through the 70s, a house was, well, a house. It was about shelter, community, putting down roots. But then the 80s hit, and financial deregulation started cracking open the door for housing to be treated as an investment. By the 2000s, that door wasn't just open, it was blown off its hinges, as global money came flooding in looking for a safe place to grow.
And this right here is the fundamental conflict we are all stuck in. See, most of us still operate with the old view. A home is for living in. But the market, the banks, the big global investors, oh no, they are playing a totally different game. For them, a home is a financial asset, plain and simple, judged by its return on investment.
Okay, so let's pull back the curtain on the engine that's driving this entire change. It's a big, kind of scary sounding word, but it is the key to everything: financialization. I know, financialization sounds super complicated, but stick with me. The idea is actually pretty simple. It's the process of taking a real, physical thing, like a house on your street, and turning it into an abstract financial product that can be bought and sold on markets thousands of miles away, just like a share of stock.
So here's how your home gets tossed into this machine. It starts with something totally normal. A family gets a mortgage. But then, and here's the crazy part, that mortgage doesn't just sit at the local bank. Nope. It gets thrown into this giant financial smoothie with thousands of other mortgages. This big bundle is then sliced up and sold off to investors all over the world. And if that whole bundling and slicing up mortgages thing rings a bell, it should. This is pretty much the same playbook that led to the 2008 global financial crisis.
And the sheer scale of this is, well, it's just mind-boggling. Look at that number. Over $300 trillion. It's a figure that's almost impossible to wrap your head around. It dwarfs the stock market, the bond market, everything. Global real estate has become the world's #1 piggy bank. Okay, so that's the big picture. But how does this global money game actually hit your wallet? How does it affect you right now, just trying to find a place to live?
This chart says it all. This is the great disconnect. Because of all that global money pouring in, home prices have just completely detached from the reality of local wages. Think about it. Your paycheck is tied to your local job, right? But the price of a house down the street, that's now being set by a global auction. And those two things are on wildly different paths.
And this quote from an analyst just nails it. The game has totally changed. When you put in an offer, you're not just up against another family anymore. Your real competition might be a faceless corporation or a massive pension fund from halfway across the world that can pay in cash and couldn't care less about the school district. All they care about is the return. And this creates a whole cascade of consequences for you and me. Higher prices and higher rents, obviously. You're constantly getting outmuscled by corporate cash. The focus of a neighborhood shifts from being about community to being about maximizing profit. And it means your own housing security is now tied to the whims of a global financial market. A market that, as we've seen, can get pretty volatile. So all of this brings us to a new and, let's be honest, kind of unsettling reality. We really have to grapple with what it means when the place you call home is also a financial asset for somebody else. Here it is. The simplest, most powerful takeaway is this. Shelter, a basic human need, has been transformed into a global investment strategy. And those two purposes, they're now in direct conflict with each other.
Which leaves us with this final defining question for our time. As housing becomes more and more of an asset for investors to park their money in, who's left that can actually afford to just live in it? That's the real challenge at the very heart of the modern housing crisis.